All right, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Four Quarters podcast with your boys, Marco and Ethan. We are two guys from Syracuse, New York. We met playing basketball, love the game, we love following the NBA, and so we decided to start a podcast just like everybody else in America. Um, yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about ourselves right now and introduce ourselves, but overall, we're both just really excited about this opportunity. It's something we've been talking about and haven't really put forward into action until today. And we're really excited about it. We're happy to share all this knowledge we've gained over our 24 years of age in basketball and whatnot. And we're excited, man. It's gonna be a good time. How you feeling, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm super excited to finally get the ball rolling on this. Kind of like you touched on, we had the idea pretty much last year, and you know, busy year for both of us. So kind of looking ahead to this year, just figured what better time than now. And I saw this quote I was telling Marco about that it was like ideas are worthless unless you take action on them. So why not give it a shot, honest shot, and should be a blast. We're having these type of conversations all the time off camera, so just thought it'd be fun to, share this around with our friends and family and, see where it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, so to start, we're just gonna, just go over a little bit about the game of basketball, what it means to us, and how we started in it. I've been playing basketball for a long time. Ever since I was like 6 or 7 years old. I just enjoyed the fast-paced part of the game, the intensity of it. Ever since I was little, I just would always love to just run as hard as I can, play as hard as I can. I know Ethan's the same way, so it's just an exhilarating feeling to be out there. It's not like any other sport where there's not a lot of downtime during the game, like football or baseball. It just although I do love those sports and they have their place, but for me, it's just basketball has such a different element to it. So much creativity, I feel like, on the court between shooting and passing. I mean, I just loved making good passes to people. I just would always love to make a behind the back pass and have everyone go ooh, or like make a
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
bounce pass to someone, and it just felt so good. So, both Ethan and I have just put our all into basketball during our high school years. We were both on AAU teams together, booster teams together. That's where we met, became friends, and just spent countless hours outside
Yeah.
shooting,
Okay.
doing workouts and drills, and acting like we were about to go pro. And it's always been a fun thing. And every time, even now, when I get out there on the court, it's always a good feeling. It just settles my mind down. It puts me at peace, and yeah, it's just something I've always loved. And to touch on just the NBA, because this is really what it's geared towards. First off, I started as a Celtics fan back in
Yeah.
'08, '07. Yeah,
Yeah.
I jumped right on that bandwagon. I saw how good they were, and I was like, man, this is amazing. So that year was actually the year they won. So on a whim, I just liked the team that was at their peak, and then
Awesome. Yeah.
all downhill from there. But
Yeah.
um,
Nah,
after like
they were good for a long time, and I guess for a little bit of context for the viewers, we're from upstate New York. We're from small town Baldwinsville, right outside Syracuse. So for a lot of kids, like growing up, like that's like for context, like 5 hours from like the Knicks and like at the time like New Jersey Nets. So we didn't really have like, oh, this is our pro team. Like our pro team was like Syracuse basketball, which was like
yeah.
really good when we were growing up. So it was like
Hmm.
awesome to see. Like, we were each like I think like 4 or 5 like when we won with Mello. So that's like some very like early memories. But we could go down a rabbit hole of like how many exciting players like MCW, Dion, Raheem, Tyus Battle, even as you get into the later years, and it's just like
Yeah.
Johnny Flynn. Like, how could I forget him? But it's like all these guys was that was like going to the Carrier Dome and watching them was like Christmas. Like every time, like it was amazing. But yeah, so that's kind of like picking the teams and stuff. So I actually was a Suns fan, still am. So you know, love to pride myself on that. But yeah,
Yes,
I just
sir.
picked them because my favorite player was Steve Nash. You know, kind of goes without saying, but very unique style of play. And like I felt like just, you could really take someone like him and like incorporate aspects of his game like into your own just because it's like so crafty with the ball and like finding his teammates is just like, kind of like the way basketball is supposed to be played. And it just for me it never made sense to be like, oh, like this is my favorite player. I can't replicate anything of his game because he's just like a jump out the gym freak. So that,
Sure.
it's kind of my thing. And briefly a Lakers fan when Nash got signed and trade over there, and obviously love Kobe. But yeah, been a Suns fan pretty much since Nash retired, and they were bottom dwellers for probably close to a decade, and now they're back near the top. So hopefully things can go go well this season.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Ethan's been a huge Suns fan, man. I mean, back in the day, heartbreak just after heartbreak
Yeah,
with the playoffs. It meant a lot to him seeing Nash go hard, and I think you modeled a lot of your game after him, knowing how you play basketball, just
yeah,
how gritty he plays and how team oriented he is. It's the same way you were. So I definitely see that. But yeah, after the big three broke up, I couldn't stay with the Celtics, so I dropped off and went to the Raptors.
yeah,
It was a good team. It had a lot. Decision had a lot to do with not wanting to be on it or at least like a team that was really good again. I wanted to find a team that was decent, but like I liked the players or I liked the team itself. So the Raptors were a good fit at the time. They had DeMar, they had Kyle, they had a lot of good pieces, and they were a middle of the pack playoff team. So, and then also being my favorite rapper is Drake, so that actually had a lot to do with
goes
that.
without saying.
But
Yeah,
but so yeah, and now my allegiance is to them. I've been a Raptors fan for a while now. I've seen them get torched in the playoffs every year by LeBron, and then finally make it to the finals and win in 2019. It's just incredible to watch and incredible time to be a Raptors fan. Um, and I'm feeling like it's going to be one of those seasons again this year where we're going to sneak up on everybody and no one's going to think about us. And I'm excited. And same thing with the Suns too. I feel like a lot of people are writing them off, and
yeah,
I don't see them going away anytime soon.
yeah. That's why we play the game. So another reason, just for the viewers out there, why we wanted to thought this season was a great time. Just like overall across the league, like so much parity. There's so much talent, honestly, and like it's not really big threes right now. Like there are definitely
No,
some like teams. Honestly, when I think of big three, like the first team that comes to mind is like the Lakers, and it's like they sucked last year. So it's just like, let's be real. Like I don't know. There's so
yeah,
many like teams like top to bottom that are like loaded. So it's a great time to just be a casual NBA fan, and that's not what we are. Actually, when you were bringing up how you love like football and baseball too, it's but everything is really basketball. Like I'm the same way. You could ask like any of my friends. Like I will casually watch it, but like I don't follow it like that. And it's like every day in the NBA season, like wake up, like check the standings, like check the
yep,
scores, like watch some
yep,
highlights, watch the 9 minute recaps on YouTube if like I missed the game. So it's just like such a like effortless hobby. It's like one of the passions in life. So it's just like time to,
yeah,
kind of share some of our insight and fandom, really. Nothing,
yeah.
nothing more to it than that.
Absolutely, man. We are so excited to be here. Ethan came up with the name, Four Quarters. Love it. We're
Yeah.
excited, man. It's going to be a good year of basketball. It's going to be a good year of podcast. We're going to share some nice stuff with you guys. We got some exciting segments that we're going to implement going forward. I'm just excited to jump in, man. It's going to be a good year. We're
Yeah.
about what are we about 2 weeks out now? Season starting little less than that.
Yeah,
18,
we're
I think.
just about 2 weeks. So,
Yeah,
we're trying to just get the ball rolling with this before the season actually starts up. But yeah, right before, I think we'll talk a little bit. This is mainly just going to be the intro, but we wanted to talk a about a few of the notable off-season stories, but just for a little bit more context for ourselves. So yeah, we grew up around Syracuse. We both went to different colleges around the Albany area. Myself being Union College, and I studied economics and English there. And I also ran on the cross country and track teams there. And now I'm living in New York City, working a finance job. So just a lot of great basketball around. Not so much with the Knicks, but with the Nets, there's great talent and cheaper seats, so it's always great to get out and see a game when the opportunity brings itself, and kind of give it to Marco here.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Yeah, dude. You've been to a few Nets games and Knicks games too, right? You've been to MSG too.
Yeah, I went. I think to one Knicks game last year. It was like on MLK Day. They were playing the Hornets, but LaMelo was like out, which kind of sucked. But
Oh, yeah.
still a good. I mean, you can't go wrong once you
No.
actually go. But I went to a couple of good Nets games. Um, so yeah, definitely looking forward to. I'm so excited for this season, man. Like it goes
Yeah,
without
dude.
saying, but just going to the games, and
Yeah.
obviously as a Suns fan, last year it was like the Suns did their New York trip around like Thanksgiving, so I was like back home, so I missed them coming. So I'll definitely be at both of the Brooklyn and New York game this year. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And yeah, just to give a little background about myself too. I skipped over that. Obviously grew up in Syracuse with Ethan, went to high school, moved out to Albany, went to school there, Siena College, got my 4 year degree, went back home for the pandemic, and then decided to move in with my girlfriend here in Albany, and one of my good friends, Dan,
Yep.
got
Shout
our
out D.
apartment. Shout
If
out
you're
D-Rave
listening, shout out
one
D.
time. Shout out D-Rave one time.
Yeah.
And yeah, while I was out here moving in, got a job in BSA at a bank. You know, at the same time, I was getting my master's degree in financial crime. So it's just really work and grind nonstop for about a whole year until finally in August of this year, I graduated, got my degree,
Sure.
and now I'm out and I got some free time. And I'm working another job, moving up, being an investigator for a bank, dealing with a lot of security and fraud. So a lot of good stuff. Very, very rewarding job. Sometimes tough, but very rewarding.
Good
And now with
stuff.
this free time I got after work, I'm looking to get some insight out there. Our both our insights out there with the podcast and just having good discussions, man, sharing our insights.
Of course, yeah, exactly. Like we'd be having these conversations off camera anyway, so it's nice to, kind of like share a little bit of how much we know, and, some of our opinions that may or may not end up coming true. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
think with that is a good, backstory on us, but we wanted to touch on a couple of the topics from the off season. I think it kind of goes without saying, the whole KD saga. What was your take on that, especially, as a Raptors fan? There was a lot of,
Yeah.
I guess, rumblings that, if they included Scotty in a trade, that, maybe the Nets would have bit. So,
Absolutely. I it was pretty interesting to see the offers that were out there for KD because there was a huge, I feel like, conflict between what the team wanted to get for him and where he wanted to go. I feel like that was a huge conflict. So it was interesting to see him put out like what teams he was interested in and then teams putting out their trades for him or potential trades. Specifically with the Raptors, I agree that it wasn't a great idea to put Scotty in and get rid of him considering how great a first year he had. The Raptors just they have such a strong core that were there when Scotty was drafted, and I feel like he fit right into that. And I think it would have been a mistake to cut him out for an All Star like KD.
yeah.
Not to say that KD wouldn't have improved our team. Obviously, he's like one of, if not the best player in the league right
Yeah.
now.
100%.
Um, but it just feels like Kawhi kind of again, whereas we got him a little bit differently, but just kind of a one and done, like make a
Yeah,
huge run
it's like a
and then
rental.
yeah, and then just
And
lose
I
out.
just with KD, like obviously with the technology and just everything about health, sports medicine, is like people are playing longer and
Yeah,
longer. But like he is
yeah,
34, coming. Not that it's really impacted his game, but like having the Achilles tear, like
right.
it's amazing he's at where he's at. But it's like how much is left in the tank, and
Yeah,
I
he's
do
been
think he's
around.
going to continue to play at this, top of the NBA level for five, probably at least 5 more years. But it's like we've seen him act a little bit bipolar before, so it's like, especially
Yeah,
as a Raptors fan, knowing you trade such a like foundational piece in DeMar for Kawhi, it's like that shake of the dice like worked. So it's like
yeah,
that's people are always gonna remember Masai going for it and getting it, but it's like how many teams have done things like that and it doesn't work out. And like
right.
my thing is, like, as a Suns fan, obviously KD came out and was like preferred destination. Great feeling, but like my thing was with Phoenix, like they did have so many pieces from top to bottom that they still would have had a lot of good pieces around KD. Like with Book, CP, I think they still would have had one of Cam Johnson or McCall, and it's like I'm assuming Aiton, Crowder, possibly like Campaign would have been in the deal, but like when you
Yeah,
keep like your two best players and add KD and still have like one of the young wings, it's just like sky's the limit. Obviously, I still
yeah,
think there's a lot of like promise and like stuff to contend for this year. Like, is how short people's memory is, but it's like they were just in the finals such a short time ago. And
yeah.
yeah, but I think with the KD thing, like most teams, like what my overarching point is that like if you give up Scotty, like that team has not enough pieces, like in my like outside of Fred and I don't know, like Pascal, but like I don't
Maybe
know
Spicy P.
how many
Yeah.
of those pieces. It's not like they were gonna do Scotty for KD straight up, like,
No,
so I
no.
don't know. It's
Would
just
have been a lot of picks. Would have been at least 3 to 4 players, including Scotty.
yeah,
It would have been a lot. I think it would have drained our whole team down, and we would have had a bunch of we had a skeleton crew. And
yeah,
then you
exactly. And
got
I
KD
know
and a skeleton crew. It's like, what's the
what's the
point of
point
doing
of
that?
making that move? Yeah. And
Yeah,
my
and I
friend, my roommate actually here in New York is like a big Celtics fan, and it was funny just because like after they swept the Nets in the playoffs, then obviously like Jalen's name was like thrown around in the mix, and then I saw some report that was like, oh, the Nets are asking for like Tatum and Brown, and it's like at that point they're just being like so like unable to work with in terms of negotiations. It's like once you see that, it's like like the writing's on the wall, like they're not really gonna make a deal. Like
no,
so,
no,
honestly, as a fan, it's probably better for the game to make some of these guys like honor their contracts, but it's probably enough about KD. It should be an exciting year in Brooklyn, though.
yeah. I think they're
Um,
gonna still be good. I think they'll
yeah,
be good.
and such a weird dynamic with the whole Harden asking out, and then Kyrie and the vaccination deal.
Yeah, Ben
And
Simmons.
Simmons like sitting out after they got him. So this
Yeah.
year will be interesting to have like a full year together.
I
So
really hope they do though. I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but I think they're a good team when they're all committed to it. I think that's going to be the key is are they committed to the cause? Are they committed to the
yeah,
team and the season? Because obviously there was a little bit of wavering there last season. But next
definitely.
point for the off season story, Utah, breaking up, getting rid of their two best players, basically, starting from scratch, throwing it
Yeah,
all out. I mean,
we
I think
call
it
it
was a good
quits.
move. I think it was a good move. In my opinion, is it wasn't working. They had been there for how many seasons? Time and time getting to the playoffs, barely missing it, even in the bubble. I mean, they had tough
Yeah,
loss to Denver Nuggets.
exactly.
Um,
I think
and yeah, I think they could have been something, but it just didn't work out. And I think they're good. I think that was a good move to salvage what they could from the
Yeah.
two best players they had and just try to, you know, plan for the future.
Yeah, I think obviously like, if there are any Utah fans out there, like it sucks to watch like a team that's still like in contention get broke up. But I think, Danny Ainge coming into the ownership, or not ownership, but like management group over there,
Management.
just look in the mirror and like see the harsh reality that's like
Yeah.
there are teams better than us. It's not working. And kind of to bring it back to like the Suns, like they were so bad for so long, and then it's like the rise was so like rapid ascension. And then it's like this Utah team, I'm pretty sure was in the playoffs every year since they had Mitchell.
Yeah,
And
they
I
didn't
don't
miss.
even I don't even think they made a conference finals. Like they
No.
might have made, I don't think they did. And it's like you're treading water at a certain point. Like that's
Right.
great. Like that, for whatever competition. And they were like the best team in the league, I think, in like the bubble year. I think they were the number one seed in the West, and all the, all these different variables of them just not getting it done, blowing leads, and the thing about Donovan and Rudy not getting along. It's just like,
Right.
all right,
Right.
like fine, like it doesn't make sense to keep one of them and not the other.
Yeah.
Just thinking about like the Windhorse thing, like what's going on. It was funny, but I just think, yeah, like I don't know, at a certain point, it's better for their long-term health of the team to just gut
Hmm.
it and go. And like
Yep.
people aren't even talking about that. Like from the Mitchell to Cleveland trade, they got back Colin Sexton, who kind of like the outcast of that Cavs team because he's such like a intense player. Him and Garland, such like a dynamic backcourt, just like probably too short. It wasn't gonna work, and like they both needed the ball. Obviously,
Yeah.
with him getting hurt, I mean Garland was coming into his own anyway, and he really had a great, breakout All-Star year. So
Yeah.
they
Definitely.
just viewed him as a, like a expendable asset. And I mean to get back a player like Mitchell, it's not often, players like that are on the market. So I mean, hey, they've got an exciting young team between honestly what I think is like close to two full lineups of starters when you think about Garland, Mitchell, Jarrett Allen, Mobley. I think
Okuro.
they're starting Dean Wade, Levert, Okoro. It's like
Yep.
I think they brought back Rubio as another guy to run like the second unit. It's just like that's so deep. It's like in the East, that's gonna, they kind of got screwed at the end with some guys missing time, but towards the, I'd say like 2/3 of the last regular season, they were like a legit like four, 4 or 5 seed in the East. So hopefully they can continue building on that momentum because should be an exciting young team to watch.
Absolutely, man. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they'll probably be top five in the East this year.
Yeah,
And looking at the Wolves too, with gaining Gobert, it's going to be an interesting season with them. Trying to fit all the pieces they have with D'Lo, Edwards, Cat, and now Gobert. But honestly, obviously Gobert makes them better. He's the better half of Cat. Like Cat
yeah,
definitely doesn't want to play D, and Gobert's not a knockdown shooter by any means. So
no,
Cat Cat can do his thing and worry about offense. And Gobert's obviously one of the best defenders of our generation. So
yeah,
you know, I think that team's going to be pretty good. I've heard in the past that they're going to pair up the big men and one guard with each like D'Lo and Gobert and Edwards and Cat or vice versa, which I think is pretty interesting. But I think it could work, running two units like that maybe, or subbing
yeah,
them out for other people. I think the Wolves are going to be good this year. I think that they showed in the playoffs last year that they're up and coming. Anthony Edwards is a star in the making. And
Yeah.
so once they gain that consistency, win some games, they're in a tough Western Conference. But you know, no better time to go hard than with all the talent they have right now. I mean,
Yeah,
they're locked and loaded, I think.
exactly. I think a lot of like GMs and just like analysts were like, "Oh my God, like look at the haul they gave up to get Gobert," and like that honestly might
Right.
have ruined like the trade market for like KD, and like it really stalled the market on Mitchell for a while when people thought like the Knicks were gonna push the chips in, but they
Yeah.
got a haul. But it's like at a certain point, like I don't know, the Wolves weren't. I think they would have had some internal progression coming off their first round loss, but like I don't think they would have made that next leap. And it's like trading a couple young promising players and obviously the whole like bounty of picks, but you get proven results right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Cat really is not a defender at all. So now you
No.
take that responsibility off him. He's a tremendous offensive talent. Let Rudy dominate the paint. It should be a good move. Like if at the very least they're a big team around the just the front court. Like they're massive between those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so yeah, I didn't actually hear about running two units, but I could see that being a interesting tactic just because it's like none of their best players are off the court at once. It's like it puts a huge pressure on the other team.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that'd be interesting if they do end up doing that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it's super interesting off season with those two teams gaining some stars, and then obviously, news broke today, so we got to talk about it. Victor Wembanyama, I think that's how you pronounce it. Dude is an absolute freak of nature. I was talking about it with my roommate Dan. He's like KD and Giannis and like all these players combined. Just seeing him put on a
Yeah.
show the past night, just an absolute clinic on both ends of the court. I think that's a precursor for what we're gonna see, and all the talk about tanking for him, just even more so. The hype is just at the absolute most for him, especially after last night.
Dude, yeah. I mean, listen, the hype, he was pretty much the consensus number one pick before that. And not that this
Yeah,
game really means much at the end of the day. It's just an exhibition, but like, how people are about like the Euro League and like those leagues overseas, they're just like, oh, the competition, but like, this is supposed to be like the cream of the crop of, it's taking kids away from college to come play for this Ignite team. And, obviously they're getting top-notch recruits. That kid, Scoot Henderson, balled out of his mind too.
yep,
But like back to Victor, first game like in the US against like another highly like touted recruit like that. And it's just like 37, 7-11 from three. Like if the hype wasn't enough, here we are, man. It was
dude.
unbelievable. Just I didn't watch the whole game, but I remember in the first half coming from the left wing, he like picked it up like at the top of the key and he two-step drop step finish with the left, like so fluid. He's 7'5". Like to just it, it's mind-boggling. It's like a 2K like creative player.
Yeah,
It's not
it is.
normal. Like when I think of 7'5", I think of like Yao, and like everyone knows how like immobile he was.
Immobile, exactly. Yeah,
He was an absolutely tremendous player. Like honestly, a little bit before our time, but like, come on, man. Like to see the way this kid moves at that
yeah,
height is literally unlike anything we've ever seen.
no,
I'd say KD is the closest thing, and he's
yeah,
freaking 7 inches taller than KD. It's
yep,
outrageous. So yeah,
yeah,
should be exciting. It should. I was actually talking about this with my roommate because how the plan is like de-incentivizes tanking. Excuse me,
right,
but it's like all of these teams who don't really have a shot are probably gonna try and get those extra balls in for the lottery. So I don't know. It
absolutely,
should
yeah,
be crazy. I know, with OKC, Chat getting hurt, such an exciting young prospect himself. but now I feel like they could tank another season. And I think, a couple of these other teams are probably going to be right there with them. I know San Antonio, just gave up DeJounte for honestly a pretty underwhelming return. And
Yeah.
outside of that, like, I don't know, but I think a couple teams, midway through the year, if they're like, hey, this isn't working, they're just gonna ship out people to try and, like downgrade and just, people like this are literally once in a generation. He's probably the most
Yeah.
hyped prospect in recent memory. I mean, just to,
Since Zion, I would say.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, the thing about him that just I think is going to be a huge factor, obviously, his height, but also the fact that he can shoot outside basically with no contest. Like it's kind of like Kevin Durant, where you could put a hand in his face, but you're not going to contest really.
you
Like you're
can't
really not
contest
going
him.
to.
He's 7'5".
So
His
he's
release is
7 inches
obviously higher
taller
than
than
that.
him. Yeah, his release is all the way at the top. Like he's just basically looking at the rim and shooting. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. So,
Yeah,
and I don't see any NBA player even being able to actively contest him on a nightly basis or give him a
exactly.
good defensive run. Like maybe Giannis because he's so physical, but I still think he's going to flourish right out the gate. I think he's a lock for number one. And like you were saying about other teams, they're definitely going to, their targets are set on him. I know Pop made a funny comment at media day.
Yeah, that
He was
was
like,
pretty
"I
funny.
none of y'all are gonna bet on us winning the."
That
So,
was funny.
he knows his place. He's a funny guy, but I think that this could trigger a lot of like drama in the league with the tanking. I think because
Yeah,
I see a lot of teams going for him because of how like you're saying, generational talent. These guys don't come along all that often, and even though the talent in the league is growing, and with Euro basketball becoming so popular and so much talent coming out of there, like Luca, I
yeah,
just you know I still think he's something to be noted as far as looking back at other talent years and stuff. Like he's far above anything besides Zion, I would say. I mean, Zion had so much hype coming in, and
yeah.
he looked like he was NBA ready on the court. And he's the only guy I can think of that stacks up with Victor as far as being NBA ready before even touching an NBA court.
Agree. Yeah. No, I think like great points, and I just think like it's so scary because of like his physical presence, but like he's also learning how to play. Like he's been a pro for I'm not sure how long, but it's kind of like the Luca thing where it's like he's been a pro already. Like you
Mm-hmm.
saw how like seamless his transition was, and he's like respectfully not even intimidating physically.
No,
But
yeah,
his like skill and his like craftiness is just like phenomenal. But like in like his IQ and like the way he plays the team game is like pretty much one of one. But it's like you have someone growing up around the game that's literally their only responsibility from I don't know how long he's been pro. I assume at least playing for like their national team since probably like U15 or whatever. And
right,
it's just
right.
like he's coming with that and everything and more that you would expect like the top college player to leave with. And it's just like it should be exciting, man.
Super exciting. I agree. I agree, man. Well, we're gonna cut it here, I think. I think
Yeah.
we're good for this episode. We're excited, man. I just getting into it right now, I'm already getting so excited because I think this year is gonna have a lot of drama, but also, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff
Yeah.
to talk about, a lot of good stories
100%.
to follow, and a lot of good teams now. That's something we were saying earlier, is like with the talent being so high right now in the NBA, it's just such a great time to get into talking about it. There's so many storylines to follow. Each team's got their own unique thing going on. I just think it's great. You can go through 16 teams. I mean, there's probably some that are just, whatever, they suck and they're not that great, or they're not that interesting, or they're like tanking for Victor like we're talking about. There's probably so many teams that are just gonna throw in the towel and just try so hard, but I think there's a solid amount of talent, solid amount of story, a solid amount of drama. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great.
100%. Yeah. Ah, like pretty much you hit the nail on the head. Like we're super excited to be doing this, and whoever's listening to the beginning, thanks for giving us a chance. And
Yeah, thank you.
we'll be around just talking about the game, and we're excited. It's gonna be a great
Yeah,
year in the NBA, and hope you know hope everything works out. But it should be fun, and yeah, cap it at that. So thanks for the time,
absolutely.
and we'll be back next week.
Yes, sir. This is four quarters with Ethan and Marco. You bet.
All right. Catch you guys later. Thanks.
Peace.